Hello and welcome back to the Birdcage. I'm Jack Kenna, and today we are going to preview Creighton's upcoming game against number 8 Marquette. This is an important game. The Creighton Blue Jays escaped the CHI Health Center with a big win, a big 57-56 win against the St. John's Red Storm on New Year's Eve. This was a game Creighton needed to win, especially on the road. Going into the game, the Blue Jays were 8-5, St. John's 11-2, had them on the ropes. St. John's punched first, Creighton punched back. It was an intense game, a necessary game for the Creighton Blue Jays to win, and they pulled it out. A great defensive stop by Jason Green at the end, sealed the deal. A lot of St. John's fans weren't very happy about the call. This is now the second year in a row that it's come down to a potential whistle at the end at the CHI Health Center, and they have not gotten it twice. This was a huge game for the Creighton Blue Jays. Stephen Ashworth, an incredible 18-point performance. He also had 10 turnovers. We're going to talk about that later because that cannot happen tonight against Marquette. Ryan Kolkbrenner, 16 points, 9 rebounds, becomes the first ever Big East player with 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, a crazy amount of blocks in a career. And it's what he did was absurd and is truly remarkable for a Big East center, for a Big East player like Ryan Kolkbrenner. Isaac Trout was the third leading scorer for the Blue Jays with three three-pointers. He finished the game with 9 and 4. McAndrew had some buckets. Fedor is looking more comfortable. This was a step in the right direction for the Creighton Blue Jays. Now, with that being said, the way that the season's gone, the unfortunate losses that Creighton has suffered so far this year doesn't leave much wiggle room for the Blue Jays. And that's the truth. They don't have wiggle room because they have two bad losses to Nebraska at home and then Georgetown on the road. You can argue about the Texas A&M loss and the San Diego State loss and say they're not bad losses. The loss at Bama is obviously not going to be a bad loss. But you just look at some of those poor losses like Nebraska at home and Georgetown. It doesn't leave this Creighton team with a whole bunch of wiggle room. They're not projected in many bracketology brackets right now. That's just how it's going to be because this team has suffered a key injury and some key losses in contests that they shouldn't have been. Now, why was this game so good? Offensively, both teams didn't play their best. Creighton shot 41% from the field, 35% from three. However, defensively, Creighton stepped up. This St. John's team averages a lot of points per game. They do. They're one of the highest scoring teams in college basketball. They can get points at will, and they were not able to do that on New Year's Eve. R.J. Lewis Jr., St. John's leading scorer, one of St. John's biggest pieces, had a game where he had 8 points. Creighton limited him. Who was St. John's leading scorer? Zuby Ejiofor. St. John's hit two three-pointers. They shot 2 of 9 from behind the arc. 2 of 9. Who made both? Zuby Ejiofor. And he's not a maker, he's a taker. Takes a lot. He made two of them against Creighton. But Creighton's going to live with those three-pointers. He knocked them down. He had good shots, but Creighton dominated this game defensively. The drop coverage forced St. John's to take tough shots, and that's really the game plan that Creighton has. Again, this is going to be different because the Creighton Blue Jays take on 12-2 Marquette. Really good Marquette. And I don't like Marquette, I never have. But this is a Creighton team that has to go to the Pfizer Forum where they haven't won since January 1st of 2022. This is also a Creighton team who does not have Pop Isaacs, who's Stephen Ashworth's knee got tangled up against St. John's. Who knows how he's feeling? This is going to be tough. But this is also an opportunity to have a statement road win. This would be the best road win of the year for the Creighton Blue Jays. That's counting UConn. That's counting Providence, even at St. John's. If they could get this, this would be the biggest road win of the year. Again, this is a Marquette team that's really, really good. They average 80 points per game and hold opponents to 66 points per game. This is a good defensive team. This is a great offensive team. Creighton is going to have their offensive A game on point, and they're going to need to play defense. They did a great job against St. John's, but Marquette's better defensively and better offensively than the Red Storm. It's going to be hard. In fact, this game has blowout potential if Creighton is unable to do that. Quite frankly, it does. That's how good Marquette is this year. They have a few notable wins at home against Purdue and then Wisconsin. Creighton beat Purdue in an exhibition. Obviously, take what you want from that. But that's a common opponent both teams handled. That was when we had Pop Isaacs, I understand. And then Wisconsin is a good basketball team as well. Sean Tanji for Wisconsin is an electric scorer, a Wisconsin team that will always be better than people anticipate them to be just because of Greg Gard and what he's able to do there. They have losses at Iowa State on the road and then at Dayton. So they have road struggles as well. Winning on the road in college basketball is just so tough. But this is the best team that Creighton has faced all year, and it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult. Now, what are the keys to the game? The keys to this game are to limit turnovers. Marquette forces 10 steals per game, and they get 20 points per game through turnovers, and this just can't happen. If this happens, it's going to be a Georgetown-esque score. And that's the truth. This game is going to get out of hand if Creighton cannot control the ball in the front court. Now, this is going to be important because Ashworth had 10 turnovers last game. McDermott said in his press game, post conference, that Jemiah Neal is going to have to carry the ball up a little bit more than he has been, which is interesting. It's not bad. It's just interesting because you're missing that secondary pot or you're missing that secondary ball handler with Pop Isaacs not out. With Pop Isaacs out. So you're missing another guard. You're missing a guard, and you can point that to roster construction. You can point that to a lot of different factors. Fedor not really being in sync because he just got cleared and they did not think he was going to be cleared. But this is a chance where Creighton can really change their season around. If they can get a road win at Marquette, everything can change. Another big part of the game plan tonight is going to be guarding the three-point shot. This is a Marquette team that is really balanced. They're a really, really good three-point balanced team. They attempt around 10 three-pointers per game. As a team, they shoot around 32%. So they shoot average. Ben Gold, their center, he will probably be matched up against Kalkbrenner. He is a three-point dominant player. He really likes to get to his spots, shoot three-pointers, and he makes them at a pretty high clip. He's a 37% shooter. David Joplin, Marquette's second leading scorer, who averages around, I want to say, 14 points per game. He's a shooter too. He's taken a lot of three-point shots so far this year. He's taken the team high 97 three-point shots, and he's shooting 30%. So he is a shooter. He's not shooting them at a necessarily super high clip, but you still do not want to give him open looks. You cannot let Marquette knock in 6, 7, 8 of these three-pointers because that's when it's going to be a pretty tough shooting night. And they're really just going to kind of get whatever they want if that's the case. Now, when you think about it, Creighton's defense is going to need to come ready to play. If they can guard how they guarded against St. John's, anything is possible. Anything is possible. However, Marquette has a guard who's better than any guard that we've faced so far this year. I mean, when you think about it, Braden Smith, Bryce Williams for Nebraska is a tremendous, tremendous player. And Cam Jones is the best player that we've faced all year. My philosophy is Cam Jones will get his. He averages 20 points per game. He is an insanely hard player to stop. I don't think you're going to stop Cam Jones. I think he's going to get his 20, his 22. But really, it's going to come down to limiting everyone else. You can't have a game where David Joplin has 20. You can't have a game where Ben Gold goes for 15 points and knocks down three-pointers. You can't have a game where Stevie Mitchell's able to get 4 or 5 steals that turn into 14, 18 points. This is a really good team that St. John's has. But if Creighton can limit their turnovers and play defense the way that they played defense against St. John's, this is not an impossible game. Creighton has played Marquette pretty close the past few times that they have faced each other. That's just the truth. At home, these games are pretty close. On the road, they're pretty close. This is one of those games where they just don't like each other. They don't like each other. And that's just how it's going to be. This is a game that will come down to turnovers, defense, and scoring. It's pretty much like every other game. But this is a team that will definitely take advantage of it if you give them the opportunity. We can't let that happen if Creighton wants a positive result, a season-altering result. But we're just going to have to wait and see. That game is scheduled for tonight. I think it is at 8 p.m. at the Pfizer Forum. And I want to know where this game will probably Fox Sports is my guess of where this game is going to be. I don't know that for sure. I'm assuming it's going to be Fox Sports, but it's going to be a good game. I'm going to be tuned in. I hope Creighton comes ready to play because this could be a season-altering result, but I'm not expecting anything too crazy here. If I was going for a score prediction, I would go Marquette 72, Creighton 64. I think that's just kind of where my head's at, 8 points. But this has potential to be worse if Creighton turns the ball over as much as they did against Texas A&M, as much as they did against St. John's, as much as they did against Georgetown. This is going to be very important. We're going to need production from that 4 position like we've been asking for all year. We're going to need production from the 3. Fedor looks a little more comfortable, but I'm sure he's not going to get a start tonight. Ashworth needs to continue to play incredible. Kalkbrenner needs to show up. This needs to be a dominant Kalkbrenner game. I hope it is, but we're going to have to wait and see. And we're going to have to limit Marquette's role players. That is all I have for today's preview of Marquette Creighton. I will be back for a recap, probably with Alex. He was unable to be on this one today, but I am assuming that he will be on for the recap. And we will see you guys later.